Welcome to Halacha for Women. We are in the sefer called Otzar Dinim by Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef Shlita. In the previous class, we started speaking about when to recite Gomel, and we did see other halachot. In today's class, we're going to see when not to recite Gomel and other halachot. Isha shenitila mitu'unat derachim. If a woman was saved from a car accident, leminhag as-sefardim en la levarech birkat gomel. According to the custom of the Sephardim, the woman is not allowed to bless the Gomel blessing. According to Ashkenazim, they're going to be allowed to bless the birkat Gomel. ואף אם היו ברכב שנפצעו קשה, even if you had in the car people that were hurt badly, injured, או חס ושלום נהרגו באותה תאונה, or God forbid they died in that car accident, nevertheless we're going to tell her אינה מברכת הגומל, she does not bless the Gomel blessing. So it comes out over here that according to Halacha, if a woman chas v'shalom lo leinu went through a car accident, even if in that car accident people got injured badly or, God forbid, people died, and now she's saved, nevertheless we're going to tell you she is not allowed to bless the Gomel blessing. Ele imken, unless shahata b'nisyam mehalach sha'a v'reva. Unless she waited, meaning to say, unless she traveled 72 minutes, then she's going to be able to bless the Gomel blessing, al hanisiya, on the travel, and she should have in mind to exempt this that she was saved from the car accident. Now, Rabotai, before we do continue, I want to just try to bring out a very important point. We're going to see that the blessings of Birkat Gomel, and also we're going to learn today the Tefilat HaDerech, the prayer that one has to say when he's on a journey. When do you begin saying it? When can you say it? Now, a lot of us are not familiar with these halachot. Before we continue, I want to try to explain, how does this work? When does the person begin to say Birkat Gomel if he's traveling? Or when does the person begin to say Tefilat HaDerech if they're traveling? Because remember, Rav Yitzchak Yosef just said over here that if this woman that was in a car accident, if she traveled a distance of 72 minutes, then she's able to say the blessing of Gomel. Again, it has to be in front of 10 men, or it has to be in the synagogue at the time when they took out the Sefer Torah. She can go ahead and say the blessing of Birkat Gomel. But how do these halachot work? Now, the laws of Birkat Gomel and the laws of Tefilat HaDerech, they're almost identical. I want to try to explain to you like this. When it says over here that if you have the woman traveling 72 minutes, or let's say in that travel before she got into a car accident, she was traveling 72 minutes, she can go and bless on that journey. Do you know what that means? It doesn't mean that she's within the city limits. It doesn't mean that she's driving, from Main Street to Queens, or, from Queens to Brooklyn, or, from Queens, to 108th Street. Rabotai, she could be driving for 5 hours all day, 6 hours all day, I don't care. That's not what it's speaking about over here. When we say over here that she's traveling a distance of 72 minutes, that's already outside of the city limit. What does this mean, outside of the city limit? Let me try to give you one example. Let's say a person wants to go from Queens, he wants to go to American Dream Mall. I can give you any other example. A person wants to go from here, he wants to travel to Niagara Falls, or he wants to go to Canada, or he wants to go to Boston. These type of situations, once you leave the city limits, and now you from there you start counting the time. If from there to your journey is 72 minutes, Then we're going to tell you need to bless the Brikata Gomel, either when you're going to get there, or either when you're going to come back, or Tefilat HaDerech, once you're already in the process of starting to drive and on your journey, once you're outside of the city limits, over there we're going to tell you have to begin saying Tefilat HaDerech. I'm going to explain all these halachot. These halachot are a little bit complicated only because you have to understand what does it mean city limits. So let me try to show you just one picture. If you look over here into this picture, you see this is an open road, correct? You don't see any houses next to it. Let's say a person is traveling on such a road. Now his destination is going to be 72 minutes after that. We're going to tell you this person, when he begins traveling on this road, let's say 10 minutes into the travel, or 5 minutes into the travel, he's going to begin to feel it at derech. But let's say, Rabotai, how about when a person reaches his destination, over there he's going to be obligated to say the blessing of Gomel. Now, why is this important to know? Because we need to understand. When Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef Shlita tells us over here that if a woman was in a car accident, she can say the blessing of a Gomel. But what can obligate her in the blessing of Gomel? If she traveled a distance of 72 minutes. But where and when? That's only if she traveled outside of the city limits. I'm going to give you an example. The one I started with, let's say from Queens, you want to go to American Dream Mall. When you get to American Dream Mall, you have to go through a highway. You have to go through a bridge. In that bridge, that disconnects the two cities. So let's say from the beginning of the bridge, when it disconnects our city to New Jersey, from there, from the beginning of the point of the bridge till American Dream Mall, let's say if it's 72 minutes, then we're going to tell you have to begin saying Tefilat HaDerech there. And then, B'ezrat Hashem, you're going to go and you're going to come back. Then on Shabbat or on Thursday, you're going to go ahead and you're going to say the blessing of Gomel. But the 72 minutes, whenever we use the language from city to city, and it has to be 72 minutes span, it must be outside of the city limits. You can't be, driving all day in Queens or Brooklyn, that doesn't matter. You could be 6 hours. Doesn't mean anything. We are speaking over here about a situation. Once you are outside of the city limits, that's when the 72-minute count begins. Once you are there, the Tefilat HaDerech you have to say. We're going to see it, B'ezrat Hashem. Also, once you get to your destination, if you're sleeping there, you're staying there, you're going to go ahead and you're going to have to say the blessing of Gomel. We'll see also if you're taking a flight, right? If you want to go to Miami and so on and so forth. But the easiest way to understand this is, let's say a person wanted to drive out to Niagara Falls, or you wanted to go to Boston, or you wanted to drive out to Pennsylvania, doesn't matter. Since there is a highway, there is a bridge that disconnects our city and there's no other houses around them, this is called from city to city. So once we get disconnected, once the bridge or the highway disconnects our city, that's when we start to count the 72 minutes. So if from that point until my destination, I'm going to have 72 minutes, then we're going to tell you, you're that type of person that falls under the umbrella of saying Tefilat HaDerech. Also, when you reach your destination, you're going to have to say the blessing of Gomel. So let's get back to our situation. Let's say this woman, she was in a journey outside of the city limits. Let's say she wanted to go to Boston. While traveling there, a deer came out, lo aleinu chas v'shalom. They had a terrible car accident. Half the people got injured, the other, who knows, lo aleinu, died, and she was the only one that survived. Can she say the blessing of Gomel? She's not allowed to say the blessing of Gomel. Comes Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita and he says, you know what she's going to do? She's going to go there and she's going to say the blessing on the journey if her journey was 72 minutes, which it was. So that's why, Rabotai, it's very important to know this very fine detail from city to city, and it has to be 72 minutes. If it's less than 72 minutes, you're not going to be able to bless the blessing of Gomel. Also, if it's less than 72 minutes, you're not going to be able to bless the Tefilat Aderech blessing with Hashem's name, but you could do it without Hashem's name. We're going to do everything, we're going to go one by one, B'ezrat Hashem. So let's just see this halacha one more time. Isha shenitila mitunat derechim. If a woman was saved from a car accident, leminhag haSefardim ein la levareh birkat hagomel. According to the custom of the Sephardim, she should not bless the blessing of Gomel. Ve'avim hayu berechev sheniftzeu kasha. Even if you are in the car, people that got injured very badly, or chas v'shalom nehargu be'ota tu'una, or chas v'shalom people died in that car accident, Eina mevarechet hagomel, she's not allowed to bless the Gomel. This is a very grave misconception that many people have. People think that, if they were saved from something, we'll see also drowning, right? Or chas v'shalom lo aleinu. Imagine somebody wanted to rob your house or rob you. I mean, all of these are life-threatening situations. You would have thought you could say it. Halacha says, according to the Sephardim, we don't say it. According to the Ashkenazim, they do say it. So that's why he says, she's not allowed to bless the blessing of Gomel. When are we going to allow her to bless the blessing of Gomel? Eila imkein, unless shahata benisi'ah mehalach sha'av vereva. That's what we want to see. Unless she was traveling on her journey 72 minutes. But where did this journey have to take place? Outside of the city limit. Let's say she's traveling from Queens to Canada, right? I'm just giving that example, but it could be even closer. Then she's able to bless the blessing of Gomel even on the journey. And then she's going to have kavanah to exempt herself from that she got into a car accident and she was saved. So when she's going to say the blessing of Gomel, she's going to have in mind that it's going on their journey, and at the same time she's thanking Hashem on the fact that she was saved from a terrible car accident. Continues Rav Yitzchak Yosef, and he says, V'chen, and so too, if this woman was saved from drowning, or sha'ar sekanot, or other forms of life-threatening situations, she's not allowed to bless the Gomel. Unless, when are we going to allow her to bless the Gomel? This is what I want you to see. Unless she traveled from city to city. Shi'ur, the amount or the measurement. Mehalach parsa, the measurement of a parsa, which is 72 minutes. It's an hour and 12 minutes. Sha'az, then we're going to tell her, Tevarecha Gomel ala nisiya. Let her bless the Gomel blessing on the journey. V'yo'ila gam avur hatzalata. And it's also going to help her on the fact that she was saved from a dangerous situation. What happens if this woman, she didn't go outside of the city limits? She was in the Queens area. She was low lane, right? She was going, let's say she was going to Main Street. That's not outside of the city limits. What happened? Chas v'shalom, Rabotai, a car hit her and she survived the car crash. Other people got injured badly, or some people even died, but she survived. Can she say Birkat HaGomel? She cannot say it. But you know what? She wants to really thank Hashem for saving her life. Can she go out of her way right now, travel outside of the city limits, 72 minutes to obligate her in the blessing? Can she do that? Yes, she can. And that's what Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita is telling us. V'im rota, if she wants to, lechatchila, ideally, linsoa mi'ir le'ir, to travel from one city to the next, In order to obligate her to bless the blessing of Gomel afterwards, Rasha'it la'asot ken. She's allowed to do so. Vehu adin, the same halacha is going to apply. But in this, למי שפרצו שודדים לתוך ביתו. If chas v'sham lo olenu, Rabotai, he had robbers lo olenu come into his house, והייתה בסכנת נפשות, and his life was in danger, שאינה מברכת הגומל, you're not allowed to bless the Gomel blessing. Again, we're going to tell you, if you want to bless the Gomel blessing, you need to obligate yourself in that Gomel blessing by traveling from one city to the next. If that distance from one city to the next is 72 minutes, you're going to be able to go ahead and say the blessing of Gomel for the journey, and have in mind that you're also thanking Hashem for the fact that He saved you from the robbers. Continues Rav Yitzchak Yosef. Hanosaat me'ir le'ir. If a woman travels from one city to the next, b'chol rechavei haaretz, right, anywhere in the world, v'shaha b'nisiata shi'ur shel 72 dakot, b'kvish bin orni, and her journey took 72 minutes in any highway or in any bridge which connected one city to the next. Rabotai, here we go. Tevarech tefilat haderech b'shem u'malchut. So now we're going to start seeing the prayer of tefilat haderech with Hashem's name and His kingship. Okay. Rabotai, this is the Tefilat HaDerech blessing. You should have it on your sitters, or if you want, you Google it, it's going to come out. So this is the whole blessing. It's a Yiratzon blessing, right? You're going to say Yiratzon b'lefanecha Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Avotenu, etc. Shetolochenu l'shalom, etc. Now, as you continue reading down in the Tefilat HaDerech, he says over here, if in your mind you want to come back the same day, you should add this prayer, that Hashem should return you also in peace, etc. You're going to say this whole blessing. Then when you're going to come over here, you're going to say Baruch Ata, you're going to say Hashem Shomei Tifila. You're going to say Hashem's name. If you are traveling a distance from one city to the next, you're going to be obligated to say Hashem's name. We're going to see if you're traveling less than 72 minutes, you could definitely say the blessing of Tefilat HaDerech, not a problem. It's only a prayer. But do not say Baruch Ata Hashem. Don't say Hashem's name. You could say Baruch Ata Shomei Tifila. You could skip Hashem's name. But when you're traveling 72 minutes plus, you're going to start saying the blessing of Tefilat HaDerech. So let's do this, Rabotai. Let's give us a simple example. A person is traveling from New York, he wants to go to Canada. Once you hit the highway or the bridge that connects our city with the next city that is leading to Canada, once you're ready, like 5 minutes or even 10 minutes in, meaning in the beginning of your ride, and it's for sure 72 minutes from there to get to Canada, then you're going to start saying this Yehiratzon prayer. You're going to start saying it, and you're going to say the blessing in the end, Baruch Ata Hashem, Shomei Tifila. Rabotai, I'm thinking right now, I don't know, I'm not Waze, I'm not Google Maps, so I'm not sure, but I just want to give you an idea. Let's say a person is going with his family on a Sunday, they want to go to American Dream Mall. I use American Dream Mall as an example, but you could apply it anywhere else, because people are familiar with it. If a person is going to American Dream Mall, does he have to say Tefilat HaDerech? Rabotai, here we go. once you are on that highway, on that bridge that connects our city and New Jersey, now here we go. This is the trick. From the bridge, from once you pay the toll, and to American Dream Mall, is it 72 minutes or is it less? I'm assuming it's less. Let's say it's probably 30 minutes. I don't think 72 minutes. If it's 30 minutes, you cannot say this blessing with Hashem's name. But what you could do is, you could say the prayer without Hashem's name. But let's say, for argument's sake, you were driving past American Dream Mall, where you know it's going to take another 72 minutes. After the toll, you're going to say the Tefillah Derech with Hashem's name. Okay, so this is the Tefillah Derech. That's what he's telling us over here. Hanosaat mi'ir le'ir. If you are traveling from one city to the next, bechol rechvei haaretz, anywhere in the world, ושהה בנסיעתה שיעור של 72 דקות, בקבעי שבנורני, and your journey is 72 minutes after you leave your city outside of the city limits, where the bridges or the highways connect one city to the next, and to your destination 72 minutes, Tivarecha Tefilat Aderech, you need to bless the Tefilat Aderech b'Shem u'malchut, with Hashem's name and His kingship. You know something? Give me 1 second. 1 second. Over here is saying with His kingship, but in the 1 second, guys. Let me see something. 1 second. Over here it says over here b'Shem u'malchut. But what I showed you, it actually doesn't say b'Shem u'malchut. Over there is only Hashem's name. I guess that's probably a different nusach. That's probably a different text. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I could find it right over here. Oh, that's because b'Shem u'malchut means Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. Right? That's how the bracha should have been. 1 second. Why is it like that? No. That's how the bracha should have been. Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Shomei Tefillah. Why did he say b'Shem u'malchut? Let me just see something. 1 second. Seder Tefilat HaDerech. Tefilat Mechanukot. No, Yitzil. Oh, here. Taf Reish Pei Zayin. Let's see. Because why is he saying B'Shem u'malchut? Doesn't make sense. 1 second. Taf Reish Pei Zayin. Okay, Tefilat HaDerech. No, it's the same one. Wow. No, it says Baruch Ata Hashem Shomei Tefillah. It also says over here, I'm using the siddur from Rav Ben Tzion Mutav. No, so it says over here Hashem's name. So I don't know why he would put over here B'Shem u'malchut. He should have just said B'Shem. Why the malchut? Malchut literally means Elokeinu Melech Haolam. Okay, fine. Okay, that's going to be the blessing. The blessing is going to be Baruch Ata Hashem Shomei Tefillah. Okay. Continues Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita, and he says, Ben be'otobus, whether you're traveling outside of the city limits on a bus, or ben be'rechevet, whether you're traveling on a train. Ve'af im yesh b'derech nikudot yushuv u'meshuvim, even if while you're traveling on your journey outside of the city limits, you have certain places where there are houses. Doesn't mean anything, Rabotai. Still, you're obligated to go ahead and say Tefilat HaDerech, because once you hit the highway, once you hit the bridge that's connecting one city and the next, even though you have a few houses here and there, Rabotai, that's not called a city. It has to be a full city to exempt you from being able to bless the Tefilat HaDerech. Ve'im nosa'ad mi'ir le'ir pachod mishi'ur zeh. What happens if the woman is traveling from one city to the next less than this measurement of time, meaning less than 72 minutes? Lo tevarech b'Shem u'malchut. You're not allowed to bless with Hashem's name and His kingship. Meaning to say, you're going to go out and you're just going to say the blessing. You're going to say the Yira Tom L'vnech Hashem Elokeinu Gavoten, etc., etc. When you get away, you're going to say Baruch Shomei Tefillah. You're not going to say Ata Hashem. You're just going to say Baruch Shomei Tefillah. ואם יש בנסיעתה הלוך וחזור בו ביום שיעור זמן של 72 דקות, רבותיי, now we're going to go a little bit, again, I know it's hard, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. He says right now, but what happens if you have in that journey of yours, going there and coming back on the same day, the time of 72 minutes combined? Even if, let's say, you traveled half of the time in the morning, and then the other half you traveled at night, you're going to bless the Tefillat Aderech with Hashem's name and His kingship. Rabotai, let me try to explain to you like this. Let's say we are going to American Dream Mall, correct? Now, once we pay the toll, from there to American Dream Mall, let's just say it's 35 minutes, 35 and a half minutes, or 36 minutes. Let's just say like that. No problem. If from there, that point, after I pay the toll, because that is the last point of the city, to American Dream Mall is 36 minutes. Now, I did that in the morning. I went with the kids in the morning. But now when I'm coming back at night, till the bridge again, it's going to be another 36 minutes. So when you take 36 plus 36, you're going to get 72. Once you're getting over here 72 minutes, you have going there 72 minutes. With the coming back, we're going to tell you that you should bless the blessing of Tefillat Aderech immediately once you are on the bridge or on the highway. Rabotai, you see what Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita just did? Up to now, we were learning that once I begin my journey outside of the city limits to my destination, 72 minutes, then you can say Tefillat Aderech. Now Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita is telling us a very big novelty. Even if I don't have 72 minutes going that way, but together by going there and coming back the same day, I have 72 minutes, we're going to tell you, you're going to have to bless Tefillat Aderech once you pay the toll or once you are disconnected from the city you come from. So therefore, in our situation, let's just go back to the American Dream Mall case. Once we get on the bridge, once we pay the toll, a few minutes into the ride, we're going to go ahead and say the blessing of Tefillat Aderech with Hashem's name. We're going to say, Baruch Ata Hashem Shomei Tefillah. Now, but it's not 72 minutes, it's only 36 minutes, let's say. No problem. Because it's 36 minutes to get to American Dream Mall, and then it's 36 minutes to get back to the outside city limits, meaning before you pay the toll to get back into New York City. Since that time is 72 minutes, we're going to tell you, you are allowed to go ahead and bless the blessing of Tefillat Aderech. Aval, however, he says, Im nasa'a balayla. What happens if a woman drove at night? Kechatzi sha'ah. She only drove for half an hour. Velana be'ir acher. Now she slept in another city. Ulamacharat, and the following day, nasa'a od kishu'ur sha'ah. And then she travels more, like another hour. Eina nisi'od mistarfot. You cannot combine the two travels. You cannot. You can't say, oh, I traveled 30 minutes over there, and now I'm traveling another hour. No. Once you slept, they're two separate travel times, so that's 30 minutes by itself, and that's an hour by itself. You can't tell me it's an hour and a half. By the case with American Dream Mall, when we told you 72 minutes, because I'm going there and I'm coming back the same day. So, from the toll to American Dream Mall is, let's say, 36 minutes. From there back to where I have to pay the toll to get back into New York City is 36 minutes. Over there, we're going to tell you it's in the same day. You have 72 minutes. You should say the Tefillat Aderech in the beginning, during the day when you're going there. But in this case, Rabotai, she was going, let's say, to a certain place. She only drove half an hour outside of the city limits. Then she stopped by an inn or a motel to sleep. Now she got up again, and now she traveled another hour, and now she got her to her destination. Is that an hour and 12 minutes? Can she say Tefillat Aderech? She's not allowed to say Tefillat Aderech because you do not have over there 72 minutes. You has to be 72 minutes without you going to sleep at night. However, Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita does say, "Vatomar Tefilat Aderech B'lo Shem Malchut." She should say the Tefilat Aderech without Hashem's name and His kingship. Now, Rabotai, I do want to make a small point before we do continue. This 72 minutes, like I mentioned earlier in the class, I just want to make sure that it is clear. The 72 minutes does not begin when you leave your house. That's not. Rabotai, the 72 minutes count once you are outside of the city limits. That's when you start counting the 72 minutes. You can't say, oh, 1 second, from my house to American Dream Mall is 72 minutes. No, because from your house to American Dream Mall, it might be 72 minutes, but here's the problem. That 36 minutes is from the toll to American Dream Mall. You can't count that with your time when you came out from your house. That cannot be counted, Rabotai. I need 72 minutes to be outside of the city limits. You could be driving in your city I don't know where you're driving from. You could be stuck in traffic for 3 hours. That doesn't mean nothing, Rabotai. When do we start counting the 72 minutes? The count of the 72 minutes begins once you leave the city where you live. Once you have a highway or a bridge that connects you with another city. There's no other houses, so your city gets left behind. Now you're going to another city. Over there, we're going to start telling you that's where you begin the 72-minute count. Continues Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita, V'chen, and so too. Isha hatasa b'matos, if you have a woman that's flying on a plane, shi'ur zman haniskar, 72 minutes. Mevarechet tefilat haderech b'shem u'malchut, she needs to bless the tefilat haderech with Hashem's name and His kingship. Gam im tisa b'matos shi'ur haniskar me'al makom yishuv, even if she flew in the plane 72 minutes above a settled place where there were houses, doesn't matter. Once you fly in a plane 72 minutes, you need to say the blessing of Tefilat HaDerech with Hashem's name and His kingship. However, Rabotai, if this woman is flying less than 72 minutes, like we saw by the case with the car, you're going to say Tefilat HaDerech, but without Hashem's name. Now we are beginning a new halacha. Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita is going to discuss when we throw a party for a girl who turned 12 years old, which is called a bat mitzvah, is that something good to do? Or is it chukot goyim, the ways of the non-Jews, and maybe it's not allowed to be done? המנהג שיש נוהגים לעשות מסיבת חגיגת וסעודת הודאה ושמחה לבת מצווה ביום מלאת לבת 12 שנה ויום אחד, דהיינו ביום שבו נולדה. This custom that people have to throw a party and to make a Thanksgiving meal for the Jewish occasion for their daughter turning 12 years old, says Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita, Hu minhag tov vehagun. It's a good custom and it's very proper to do so. V'yesh b'zeh mitzvah, there is also a mitzvah in doing a bat mitzvah. Why? V'yesh b'zeh mitzvah l'chizuk hachinuch. Because you have over here a mitzvah in strengthening the education lebanot Israel beruch Israel Saba. To strengthening the education to our Jewish daughters in the Jewish traditional way. V'tov she'rabbanim yomru sham divrei Torah, and it's good that the rabbis should speak over their words of Torah, v'shirot v'tishbachot, and songs and praises, LaHashem yitbarach, to Hashem may He be blessed. Ubarur me'od, and he says it's very clear, sheyesh lishmor b'kabdanut al klalei hatziniut lifi dat Toratenu hakedusha. He says it's very clear that the parents must be very particular, must be very strict with the laws of modesty according to our Torah. Like it says in the verse, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, serve Hashem with happiness. V'gilu b'ra'adan, nevertheless, that simcha has to be with all interpretation. V'nachon, he says that it's correct, Shabbat tilbash beged chadash v'tevarech shehechiyanu. It is correct that the daughter should wear a new garment, something that's going to make her happy, and on her bat mitzvah, she should bless the blessing of Shehechiyanu v'kimanu v'gi'anu lazaman hazeh. Now Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita is going to move on to the next halacha. There is a concept in the Torah that when a child, whether they are a boy or whether they are a girl, that all the averos, all the sins that they do, it goes on the father's head. So when a boy becomes bar mitzvah, we have this blessing that we say without Hashem's name. We say Baruch shepatranu me'onsho shel zeh. Blessed are you, Hashem, that you have exempted me from this boy's punishment. Because all the sins up until 13 go on the father because he has the responsibility to educate him. The question is, does the mother also have to say this blessing of Baruch shepatranu me'onsho shel zeh? So Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita says, Ein ha'isha mevarechet lebena o bita shegiu lemitzvat birkat shepatrenu me'onsho shel zeh. A woman is not allowed to bless to her son or to her daughter that have reached the age of bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, the blessing of shepatranu me'onsho shel zeh. She's not allowed to say that blessing. Why? Since she's not obligated in educating the children in the ways of Hashem, that education is placed on the father. In any event, that our custom is to bless this blessing of Baruch shepatranu me'onsho shel zeh, even on a boy that reached 13 years of age, but rather we say it after he went up to the Torah, we say, Baruch shepatranu me'onsho shel zeh. We say it, but without Hashem's name. V'chen bebat, also into a daughter, that she reached 12 years on one day. Tov sha'av yomar baruch shepatrani me'onsho shel zeh b'li shem u'malchut. It's also good that the father should say on the daughter that Hashem, you freed me from these girls' sins. Meaning I shouldn't be punished because of her anymore. So we see from that halacha that a mother is not obligated to say baruch shepatranu me'onsho shel zeh, not on the son, not on the daughter. However, the father has an obligation to say it on the son, and it is good to say it on the daughter once she reaches the age of 12. Now we're going to see another halacha regarding blessing under trees in the month of Nisan. So too women are obligated to bless the blessing under trees in the month of Nisan. Kasher yir'u bet ilanot, and when you're going to see two trees, they have to be two separate fruit trees. Ha'osim pri, that make fruit, im parchechechem, with their flowers. Once you see a fruit tree, if you have in front of you two fruit trees, let's say one is an apple tree and one is a orange tree, not that when they already have the fruits, that's when you're going to go and you're going to say the blessing under trees, but rather when you see that they're already blossoming, when they're already budding, when they start already, the fruit season starts in the month of Nisan, you're going to go ahead and on two trees, you're going to say the blessing of the ilanot. Another halacha Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita brings down, Yesh omrim, there are those that say, She'anashim chayavot beberchat hachama, that women are obligated to bless the blessing on the sun, which comes every 28 years. Every 28 years, when the sun begins to move, it comes back to its original place after 28 years. So you have some rabbis that say that women are obligated in saying the blessing of the Birkat HaChama, v'yesh chokim, and some rabbis argue. They say no, women don't have that obligation. V'lachen, therefore Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita says, Hanachon, the correct way to go about the situation, she'anashim ta'mudenu b'tzad ha'anashim, Binifrad, let the woman stand side by side with the men, but separately away from the men. V'yishma'u habracha mipi hashliach tzibur. Let them hear the blessing from the chazan, and in this way they're going to be able to fulfill the obligation in the blessing of the chama. Okay, Rabotai. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to summarize two classes. The class prior to this class, where we titled it, "When does a one have to say Gomel and more?" And today's class, when one does not need to say Gomel and more. We're going to go ahead and we're going to combine both of these classes and we're going to give a summary in English. It's a lot, huh? All right, one second. Here we go. Summary. Teaching children berachot. A woman may teach her son blessings and pronounce Hashem's name while teaching, as long as the child does not yet know how to recite the blessing by himself. She may educate a child to recite blessings, even if the child is not careful to clean himself properly. Women and Brikata Gomel. Women are obligated to recite Brikata Gomel after recovering from an illness, chas v'shalom, after childbirth. Preferred way to recite Gomel, ideally the blessing should be said at a celebration for the birth of a daughter, during Brit Yitzchak, the learning custom on the night before a Brit, or at the Brit Milah meal. There must be 10 adult men present. The woman should stand at the doorway of the room, say the blessing out loud so the men can hear her. Alternatively, she may say it in the women's section of a synagogue. When? During the Torah reading between aliyot. Once again, only if 10 men are present. She may not say Gomel alone. Status of purity. A woman does not need to wait until she is ritually pure. She may recite Hagomel even while not tahor. Can the husband say Gomel for his wife? A husband cannot say Hagomel instead of his wife unless he himself is also obligated. He traveled a halachic distance, like we spoke about, 72 minutes from one city to the next. In such a case, he recites Hagomel in shul. His wife listens from the women's section. Both must intend that she fulfills her obligation through him. This works through Shomea Keoneh. Listening is like responding, even though his obligation is for travel. Hers is for recovery from an illness or childbirth. If a Gomel was said without 10 men, if a woman already recited a Gomel without 10 men, she does not repeat the full blessing. Instead, she should later say the blessing without Hashem's name and His kingship in front of 10 men. This is today's class. Accidents and life-threatening situations according to the Sephardic practice. A woman does not recite Gomel for a car accident or chas v'shalom lolin rabotai drowning, robbery, other dangers, unless she also traveled a halachic distance about 1 hour and 12 minutes. In that case, she recites Gomel for the travel and has intention to include the salvation. She may even choose to travel intentionally in order to become obligated. Tefilat HaDerech, the traveler's prayer. A woman traveling between cities for 72 minutes on an intercity road recites Tefilat HaDerech with Hashem's name. Applies to bus, train, or plane. If the travel is less than 72 minutes, she's going to say the Tefilat HaDerech. She recites it without Hashem's name. Round trips in one day, combined, she's allowed to recite it with Hashem's name. Trips on different days do not combine, so therefore she's not going to be able to say it with Hashem's name unless she is traveling 72 minutes on that same day. Bat mitzvah celebration. Making a celebration and festival meal on a bat mitzvah is a good and proper custom. Help strengthen Jewish education. Rabbis should speak words of Torah. Strict modesty must be maintained. It is appropriate for the girl to wear a new garment. And with that, she's going to recite Shehechiyanu. Regarding the blessing of Baruch Shepatarani, a woman does not recite Baruch Shepatarani for her child because she's not obligated in chinuch. The father says it without Hashem's name for his son at 13, for a daughter at 12. Brikat Ha'ilanot. Women do recite Brikat Ha'ilanot in Nisan upon seeing 2 fruit trees in bloom. Brikat HaChama, there is a dispute whether women are obligated. Therefore, women should stand separately and listen to the blessing recited by the Chazan. Rabotai, have a great day. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.